Hello, hello, hello. Welcome again to our Make a Culture Move podcast, where we cover everything from intense social topics to funny social trends. We are your hosts, Mark Jonathan,
Tabitha.
G.
and as always, we have a very interesting podcast for you all today. But before we get started, can we have a brief disclaimer? Excuse me.
So here at the Macam podcast, we cover a lot of controversial topics that do not represent Macam as a whole. So as we dive into our podcast, we would like for you guys to keep that in mind.
Yes, indeed. So with that being started, we kick off today's podcast with Tabitha. Tabitha, what you got for us today?
So today we're going to be talking a little bit more on the brown side of things. I mean, at least for my portion. The thing is, I was reading an article that basically talked about how, Black Lives Matter. A lot of Hispanic people, also Indigenous people, support African Americans in their marchings and stuff like that. But when it comes to Hispanics being gunned down in the street, it never gets the attention that it fully deserves. And they're like, well, the question was in the article whether or not, do brown lives matter and do people actually care about brown people? Because a lot of the deaths, as you'll see as we dive into this article, a lot of the deaths to brown people is so similar to what has happened to Black people. So let's just jump into it. I can hear echo. Okay. Police killings of Latinos lack attention, say activists. It's like they don't care about Latinos and the racism we face, said a retired U.S. Marine whose son was shot by the police while he was holding a cell phone that the officers claimed was a gun. Bam, that just sounds like every other case. Every other case, basically, what has happened to Black people, basically getting shot for holding a comb, for holding a Subway sandwich, as we'll get into the next person that got shot down by the police. So, Rio Rancho, New Mexico. 40-year-old Antonio Venezuela's death did not spark widespread protests like George Floyd's. In fact, the police killing of Venezuela drew little attention outside the American southwestern city just north of the U.S.-Mexico border. The details about Floyd's death, a 46-year-old Black man who died in May at the hands of Minneapolis police, closely resembles that of Venezuela, a Mexican-American man who was killed in Las Cruces, New Mexico, 3 months before global protests and outrage. Like Floyd, Venezuela's death from a choking maneuver during an encounter with a police officer after a struggle. So he died in a choking maneuver. Again, I'm very big on books. This book, Chokehold, definitely talks about how the chokehold is used as a position to bring people into submission, but it's very deadly because it cuts off your air circulation. So back to the article. The lack of attention around Latinos and police highlights how little is known about Latino history in the U.S. and the racism endured in the American Southwest and the U.S.-Mexico border. It also marks the backlash some Mexican Americans face when trying to join the national conversation about race. It's like they don't care about Latinos and the racism we face, said Frank Alvarduro, Senior, 76, a retired U.S. Marine whose son was shot multiple times by Salinas, California police in 2014. Alvarduro has since joined Black Lives Matters protests in nearby Sacramento. So kind of moving down. But Venezuela's death embodies the lack of attention about Latinos' violent encounters with police. Las Cruces, a city where 60% of the residents are Hispanic, recorded a rate of police killings of 26.2 for every million residents. That was the highest rate for a city in the nation, Washington Post reported. New Mexico, a state with the largest percentage of Latino residents in the region, also had the second highest rate of police killings behind Alaska, which is mainly, indigenous, Native American. In Venezuela's case, police video posted by Las Cruces new Sun News shows officers chasing him after he fled from a traffic stop in February when he was found to have a patrol violation. He was tasered twice, but confirmed to continue to struggle with officers. I don't see how that even is a thing. How can you struggle after you're, tased? Eventually, officers catch Venezuela and Las Cruces police officer Christopher Smelser is heard saying, "I'm going to choke you out, bro." Venezuela gas for breath before going silent. The coroner, I don't know, behind determined he died from, I don't know, basically being strangled to death. We're just gonna cut it off there. But yes, it's crazy. It's crazy. I just see like a lot of brown people have died by the hands of the police, but again, it never gets the proper attention that it deserves. Again, I'm not the best reader, y'all. Just throwing that out there. That's a disclaimer for me. But it's crazy that that's a thing. That's a thing. I like to read, but I can't read. It's sad. But yes, it's crazy that that's a thing, and it gets no attention. And it's crazy because a lot of brown people, they take our hands and walk down the street screaming, "No justice, no peace," and they have never seen any justice, and they will never see any peace because at the end of the day, it's sad to say, if it's not black, people do not give a damn. If it's brown, people really don't give a damn. And it's sad because they're quote unquote illegal aliens. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
I mean, just to build on with what you've already said, I mean, a lot of Hispanics are very hardworking. It just don't really make sense to, like, I mean, not that it really makes sense for them to be experiencing injustice in a world that we've basically built from the ground up. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But yeah.
Yeah, no. It definitely sucks that it's not getting the exposure that it deserves, because it should, but it's like that barrier as to, are we equal or are we not, as far as like our Hispanic brothers and sisters. We should be all together united, but we got to take steps to get there. But they're in hard situations all the time out here, like the ICE detention centers, like, that alone, so yeah.
It's crazy. But we're gonna go ahead and dive into this next. It's like it's a series of videos, but I do have an article to kind of back up what's going on. It's crazy because this dude was shot basically to death for holding a Subway sandwich. Like, you can't hold a cell phone, an inhaler, you cannot just be. So it's crazy. This dude was shot to death. His name was Casey Goodson. And luckily for him, he knew somebody that could kind of give him the the attention that he deserves. Rest in peace to Casey Goodson. And we're finna get into. I found this on World Star. I'm a World Star, but yes, here we go.
Now to that police shooting of a man in Ohio. The FBI.
We do not endorse this commercial.
Joining the investigation into the death of Casey Goodson. At issue, was Goodson holding a gun or a sandwich? Here's ABC's Megan Tebresian.
This morning, the FBI and Justice Department joining the investigation into the killing of Casey Goodson, the 23-year-old man shot by law enforcement in Columbus, Ohio.
My grandson just got shot in the back when he came in the house.
Goodson's family says a deputy shot him outside their home in front of two toddlers.
My 5-year-old called me crying and screaming, Mommy, Casey just got shot. The police just shot Casey, Mommy. He's on the floor dead, Mommy. Hurry up, come here, get me, Mommy. Hurry up and get here.
At the time of the shooting Friday, Deputy Jason Meade was working as a member of the U.S. Marshals Task Force, searching for violent offenders. Goodson was not a suspect in the officer's search. According to the U.S. Marshal's Office, Goodson was seen driving down the street waving a gun. Meade then confronted Goodson, asking him to drop what officers describe as a gun. When he didn't, Meade shot him.
He was seen driving down the street waving a gun. The gun was recovered at the scene, that I can tell you.
But attorneys representing the family say the gun he was allegedly holding was actually a Subway sandwich.
Deputy Jason Meade fired shots at Casey, and Casey fell into the house where he lay in his kitchen and full of blood next to his Subway sandwiches. So
Goodson's mother describes her son as a family man with no criminal history. She's demanding Meade be charged with murder.
My son was murdered in cold blood, and that man deserves to be in jail. He deserves to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Meade, a 17-year veteran of the department, is on leave during the investigation. Deputies in that department do not wear body cameras. Casey Goodson's attorneys say even if their client was carrying a gun, he had a license to do so. Kenneth, Mona.
Megan, thank you.
This man didn't even have a gun. He had a damn sandwich. And then they, of all people, to get to like kind of speak on the matter, you have this old ass white dude, this old white man talking about, yeah, he had a gun. That I knew for a fact. He is like, I don't know what the opposite of Karen is, but he is a male Karen, calling the police on someone that is just minding their own business. And not only did they shoot him down, but they shot him down in front of some little kids. This is why I'm telling you, the Willie Lynch letter is such a real thing. They kill the male in front of the children, in front of the women, so that the women don't have any confidence or really believe in the black man at all to protect them. And that's why, man, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Like a Subway sandwich, you know, like I've had Subway in many different states or whatever, you know, and the wrapping of a Subway sandwich is like white, ain't like green with the Subway symbol on it. So it's like, no way. How are we mistaking a Subway sandwich for a gun?
Exactly.
How? Like, and, you know, we can't trust old people's eyes anyways. Like, sir, you're probably partially blind. Like, how old are you? Like, yeah.
But it's like before you even get there, like before you even get to the whole situation, like one, I thought all police departments had to wear body cameras. And then in the situation where you, like, I just don't understand how you could sign up for the police academy and be so in fear that you don't go ask a question. A simple question saves this man's life. Inquiring on, but before I even get to that, how do you go to the hood looking for violent suspects or whatever? I forget the actual verbatim or the verbiage that he used, but they said, or violent offenders, I believe they said. But if he wasn't a suspect, like, it's like, go do your job, but at the same time, how is that your job? How is your job description drive to the hood and wait for violent suspects? Like that just don't even make sense to me. And then to what I was saying initially, it's as simple as asking a question that would have saved this man's life. Hey, we got a call that you were waving a gun around. What's up, bro? Gun. I got a Subway sandwich. Oh, okay, continue on about your day. But no. And then to shoot, I know gangsters that don't shoot in front of kids. And then y'all cops is doing it. I know gangsters that legit will see they op, but like be at a football game, won't even do nothing to them because it's out of respect. There's kids everywhere and bullets don't have a name on them. You could have been aiming at Casey, but could have hit one of them toddlers. Now that's a life that barely even started. I'm done, y'all, for the sake of time. I'm done.
Oh, it's okay. I appreciate your view, man, because that's the thing. When it comes to issues like this, we rarely get to hear the black man's opinion on, you know, what happens to his brothers out here. But speaking of another black man talking about this, there's a Ohio State basketball player that kind of shed some light on, you know, because Casey Goodman was this dude's friend. So he like kind of like on his platform that he has, he kind of like took a knee to let them know like that was his peaceful way of protesting. So we're gonna get into this. And there's a video of
I'm sorry, could I say one more thing and then I'm done? Yeah. Even if he did have a gun, he had a license for it. Which exactly. Again, if you ask a question, you save this man's life. Or not even save the man, you let him continue his life. You're not saving him. You're the only one that's a danger to him and you're supposed to protect. I'm trying to tell you, bro. I'm trying to tell you. I think G posted it. I don't know. I think we'll probably go over it like the next week or something. But Spike Lee's coming out with a movie and everybody got to go see it. Because it's the war that's about to happen if this keeps happening.
Right.
No justice, no peace means just that.
Right. Okay, let's get into it. So, Ohio State basketball player Steph Towns takes a knee to protest friends killing in police shooting. Okay. So, to protest his childhood friend's killing by police in Columbus this week, Ohio State forward Steph Towns kneeled before his basketball team's 90-85 victory over Notre Dame, I guess, on Tuesday night in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. According to reporting by CNN, federal officials are now investigating the death of 23-year-old Casey Goodson, Towns' friend, who was shot and killed Friday by Jason Mead, a local sheriff's deputy. As Goodson entered his home, Mead reportedly said he saw a man with a gun before the shooting. Goodson's family's attorney told CNN that Goodson had a concealed carry permit and was legally armed at the time of the shooting, but that Goodson had only a Subway sandwich in his hand when he was killed. There he goes right there on Justice for Casey Goodson. Okay. And he got a lot of like retweets and stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not what you know, but who you know. Anyway, preliminary autopsy report results show Goodson's died from multiple gunshot wounds in his torso. The Franklin County coroner said Wednesday, final results aren't expected for at least 3 months. So I guess that's all I'm gonna touch on with that. But yes, I think that this is why, like, what Mark has been putting out with the whole the NFL cares or the NBA cares, you know, people talking about and giving the exposure that incidences like this kind of deserve is super important, because if I didn't go on World Star Hip Hop, there is no news outlet that's like spreading the news like that. That's like letting it be known what's going on. People are dying at the hands of the police and no one's saying anything about it. You see people out here walking, aka protesting, but it's nothing's changing. You know what I'm saying? Malcolm X had this saying, because Martin Luther King was walking and they'll be singing Something Shall Come. I can't think of. He said it's time to stop singing and it's time to start swinging, because until we start to not literally fight back, but fighting back looks different in so many different ways. But until we start to change ourselves and change the way that we look at one another, nothing's going to change. We don't value each other, so how do we expect the police, the white man, anybody to value us? We only get the value that we deserve once we start valuing each other. So that's my little perspective.
I'm done.
For the sake of time, if change has to come from us, so we have to start from somewhere. But they're not gonna stop killing us. These stories are gonna continue to happen until we for real come together and figure out something to do. And honestly, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. Yeah.
I hope he get charged, bro. I'll say that. There's no reason why he shouldn't. He had a concealed carry license. He was minding his business. That's murder, plain and simple.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. I have nothing to say. So we could go ahead and segue for what you got. What you got for us today, Mark?
All right. So today, y'all, we had our workshop this past week, and the last topic that we decided to cover was the school to prison pipeline. We kind of exchanged that for our combating culture, but it's pretty much the same fight. With that being said, my first article is just a quick little document on how COVID has affected the school to prison pipeline. And jokes on us, it hasn't affected it at all. And it's actually still occurring it's actually very relevant. Even with kids not being able to attend school, somehow they're still facing some of these consequences. So as we scroll down into the article, and there might be a video that plays in here, but like we can just pause it. I have no use for it. But okay, so right here at COVID-19. So COVID-19 hasn't stopped the school to prison pipeline. Despite school closings or truncated, I'm not sure, classes as a result of the pandemic, some school children continue to be victims of the zero tolerance policies that punish unruly behavior with arrest or suspension. A webinar on youth injustice reform heard Thursday. Students punished in this way are also more likely to be Black, research suggests. Stories about kids acting up in school, getting arrested and detained that same day have not stopped just because schools are physically closed, said Joshua Rubner, a senior advocacy associate with the Sentencing Project. Kids are getting in trouble for not doing their homework or not logging into class, things that violate the terms of their probation, not for the underlying offense. Rubner cited, Rubner cited the widely reported case of Michigan girl who was locked up for 9 months for not doing her online homework. Feel free to look more into that article as you'd like, but that's all I use it for right now. Or I guess, yeah, I'm done with it. But in the article, you can see that even with kids not being in school, they're still subjected to the zero tolerance policies, which lead to them in jail. And if you were with us in our workshop, we learned a lot that like this school to prison pipeline like was initially started in the 70s, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then it was because there was a lot of crimes happening during that time. Since that time, which was about 50 years now, that crime has gone down, while the police and zero tolerance and the regulations and rules and all that have still gone up. So, and then even in the COVID, it's still very relevant. Like, I just don't understand. It's just crazy to me. But how do y'all feel about this?
How do you go to jail for not doing your freaking homework? Like,
How?
I'm like, there's so many times where like I don't know. There's times where I like was so close to not doing my homework, but I could not even imagine. There was only one time in my life being in school that like I got in trouble for truancy, which was in the state of Texas. You get in school, you don't know if you have stuff going on outside of school. And what if their parents can't afford the internet and they can't attend class because everything's online? Like that's
It's not fair either. It's not fair. It's discrimination. Like it's all kinds of things. Like the system is set up for us to fail in so many different ways. Like it's so, excuse my language, fucked up. Like it's just because there's some. Let me tell you. If we went to jail for not doing our homework, them times where it's like, hey, and it's like there were some assignments was like if I don't do it, it's not really gonna drop my grade. You feel me? I'm already rocking the A. It's only, you feel me? It's only a 10-point assignment. I can miss out on this one. There was those times I'm too stressed out to do all my homework, all of it, every single man. So to think that there are young people who are going to jail for something as irrelevant as homework.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there like amendment or constitution or something that's like denies any cruel or unusual punishment for an offense?
Yeah.
That how do you go to jail for 9 months for not doing homework assignments? Is that not unusual at the slightest, if not cruel?
Cruel?
That's something parents should be given the obligation or responsibility to punish for. Not the state, not the school, not anybody.
No, not at all. Like, that is a parent's job. And at the end of the day, schools need to have a better system on how to discipline students. Like there's no
that don't involve the police.
That don't involve the police. Children are gonna be children, and all kids for the most part have some form of distraction problem, something that you have to work with them. Kids are active. Not all kids listen. Some kids talk back. Some kids they joke around. Some kids can't focus.
Some kids make accidents.
Some kids make accidents.
Stuff is crazy.
Like, man, some kids don't have the help at home. Some kids can't do their homework by themselves, and they don't have the whole help to do it at home.
I couldn't imagine doing high school during COVID season where like I can just stay home. Like I couldn't imagine.
That would have sucked for me because we rarely had internet when I was growing up before.
That's exactly. You brought up that case earlier. Like if they don't have internet, like you just arrested this person for 9 months for something they were incapable of doing, literally.
Something that they cannot control.
It's crazy. But like if we have nothing else, I mean, I can segue We all good.
Segue.
All right. So to segue, so yesterday I heard the story of Brandon Bernard. Never heard until yesterday, but if you could click on the article, please. I believe he was executed 9:27 a.m. on Thursday, which is yesterday, and the case was, I believe him and some others had like killed, I think, youth ministers, and then he was 19 years old at the time. He spent 21 years in prison before his execution, and then was just executed yesterday. And it was really interesting to hear. Do you have something to say, Tabitha? Or?
No, I'm seeing a shower. Let me go ahead and click on this.
Okay. But yeah, it was interesting to hear the family's take on it. They said if you could scroll down a little, it's a specific section. Down.
You said scroll down?
Yes, please. So right there where it says, I pray that Brandon, you see it?
Yes, right here.
Yes, indeed. All right, so, oh wait, Q. It did that. Thank you. All right, so it says, I pray that Brandon has accepted Christ as his savior, because if he has, Todd and Stacy, which were the couple that was killed, will welcome them into heaven with love and forgiveness. Charles Woodson wrote on behalf of the Bagley family, it has been very difficult to wait 21 years for this sentence that was imposed by the judge. And
you could be more.
Yeah, that's the video I was talking about, actually. But yeah, so scroll that. She's basically just going over whatever happened. So right here at this, however, it says, however, oh wait, let me go one paragraph up. So Bernard's execution was scheduled this fall by the government. It was the 9th execution since the Attorney General William Barr announced restarting federal executions after a 17-year hiatus. A decision that has been fraught with controversy, especially during the global pandemic, and could be halted under President-elect Joe Biden's administration. However, that may be too late for the 5 federal death row inmates scheduled to die before Inauguration Day, January 20th.
Damn.
So, and then I'm done with that, Tabitha. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yes, throughout the article, they kind of just explain some of Bernard's charges, what really he was getting charged for. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, if what they said was true, which I'm praying to God it was, that they executed this man and his co-defendant, that I kind of skipped through that. Like, it's just crazy to see, one, they already took 21 years away from him, and then to execute him for something that he did at 19 years old. Like, to then rob him and his family. That's lawyer and court fees for 21 years, just trying to fight for your survival, only to be met with denial and then eventually his execution. And then to know that 5 more within a month, well, kind of a few more days than a month, 5 more could be executed just because Trump is trying to speed this up before he's officially not president anymore. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Right.
It's just like, no one should die in prison. You feel me? Like, the death sentence, you feel me? Like, if you die in prison, it should be because you got a life sentence for a long time. But the execution, like, that's how is that not murder? How is that not murder? Like, it's and still, 21 years, like whoever he was at the age of 19,
especially going through prison.
he was not that same man. And it's like, it's crazy because you think like it happens often. It's like it happens often. There's so many stories that it's like, and they don't get light shed on them, and we don't hear about them, and we don't know about them. But it's like they're killing. But it's like they have like a permit to do it, so it's okay, and that's why it's overlooked so much. And my heart just goes out to those families because I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what it would be like to go through that.
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, if you killed someone on accident, I think that that's totally different than, you violently murdering two people. You know what I'm saying? Like, manslaughter and things like that happen. And sometimes you gotta think things happen because of circumstances. And yes, people do change, but I think that, people, there's that whole saying, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind and blah, blah, blah. But like, if let's say like you killed my son and my daughter, and I don't care how old my son and daughter are, you kill my son or my daughter, you need to die because you just took away somebody that was essential to my life. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that the government has the right to execute people, because there's people that have been wrongfully convicted. That's why, like that movie Mercy, very good movie, very, very good movie that kind of shed some light on the whole execution of the state. And if it's a racist state, oh, your ass is grass. Excuse my language, but that's what it is. So
no, like, because where's your heart at? Like, the God says to forgive. And so whatever he was going through, whoever he was at the age of 19, whatever life he was living, whatever happened to him as a child in his childhood that made him who he was to be that person at the age of 19, whether it was an accident or not, I'm sure he's had 21 years to reflect on it every single day.
And then to be executed.
Yeah. And I'm sure at some point, he probably has asked for forgiveness at some point. And for 21 years, I'm sure that's all. In prison, that's all you're doing. You're reflecting on how did I get here? Why am I here? And that's the school to prison pipeline. Our Black and brown boys grow up in such a rough life. Their fathers are taken away from them. They don't have uncles and brothers to be there and guide them up in the right path. We don't have good Black men all the time around. So, yeah, if someone took a love of mine, and then essentially at first, of course, I'm going to want pain inflicted on that person as well. But at the end of the day, I'm going to forgive. I'm not going to want to see them executed in prison, knowing that they're going to get life anyways. They're going to get life anyways. And if I go do what I know that my people is capable of doing, then that's life on my family for in prison. And the cycle continues and goes on. So to say that if someone took the loved one of yours and you want to go and kill them too, then your heart is in the wrong place.
Hey, back in
the wrong place. It is in the wrong place. Absolutely in the wrong place. And it's like, you can't be saying that you want the community and people to come together and be one, but It's hypocritical because you don't have no love in your heart then. Where's the forgiveness? Where's the love? Where's the coming together? Where's the peace? It's not there if you feel like you have to go and kill somebody.
I didn't say I was going to kill anybody.
That's basically what you said, or you want them to die. To want somebody to die is kind of just equal as wanting to kill them. To want somebody to die. You want somebody to go through prison. Do you know people who have gone through prison?
Yeah.
What that system is like?
My dad's in prison right now. I'm like,
and that shit sucks. So they're paying for the crime that they committed if they committed it. If they committed it. So your heart is in the wrong place. Segue or something, because I'm finna go off on top of the segue or something. Her heart is completely in the wrong spot. All the way in the wrong spot. Like, because honestly, because for you to be what Hebrew Israelite and y'all to be following the Bible, the Bible says to love. At the end of the day, you talk about how much you read the Bible and all of that. God says to love and to forgive. So you're getting.
I'm not gonna dive into the Bible right now because my head.
I can't.
But
I can't.
Definitely move on because
I can't.
Okay, so with that being said, right, with the school to prison pipeline information, we also got to celebrate the good instances that we have. So if we could click on that Black excellence, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So at the top it says, meet 3 Black kids with the highest IQ. There's a period there. There are no exceptions. So boom, right? We have, hold on, let me make sure I don't pronounce it. So Romarni, dang, I'm missing his last name. Yeah, Wilfred, there we go. Has an IQ score of 162. So just so that we can put this in perspective, the average IQ score for Americans in total is 98.
Oh, damn.
And that's as of 2020, so that's very current. And then Romarni Wilfred scores a 162, which is higher than Albert Einstein's and Stephen Hawking's. As 16-year-old, this has definitely got to be celebrated. And he's Black. Put that on top. You feel me? The next person we have is Anala Beavers, beautiful Black princess. At just 4 years old, Anala Beavers possessed an IQ score of over 145. She could identify every letter in the alphabet when she was just 10 months old.
Okay.
Come on now. And then Alana George, another beautiful Black princess. Alana, who has an IQ score of 140, is the youngest member of Mensa from the United Kingdom. The 4-year-old has an obsession with words and numbers. We talk a lot about our kids being exposed to other things that's not a basketball or a mic so they can rap or they can sing or do something like this, but encourage stuff like this, you feel me? Some art, some numbers, words, you feel me? But yeah, so it's the little child who taught herself how to read before starting school, prefers reciting the alphabet and times table than singing nursery rhymes. All right, now. I know that's right.
Right.
Hey, so in the midst of us talking to the school to prison pipeline, you know, we have to bring out these good examples of, you know, what we are definitely all capable of, but because of the odds against us, we're never really seen, or we're never really able to show our full potential. Now that brings up another thing I just thought of. Part of that is because of our environment, you know, we don't encourage that nor accept it. But that's definitely what we got to start doing as Black communities. You feel me? And when your kid gets a good grade, you know, celebrate that. Don't celebrate the game-winning shot. Celebrate that too. You feel me? If that's your passion, that's your passion. But celebrate the good test scores just as much. You feel me? The the good artwork, the good rewards, things like that. But yeah, that's all I gotta say on this.
All crazy. That's all I gotta say.
Yes, indeed.
It's always amazing, especially because they're so young, you know. So it's like we tell our youth in the workshop, the children are the future, you know. So they are up next in this world, and it is up to them. So it's just amazing to see that they're young, and it's Black excellence at the end of the day. So yeah.
But that's all I got for today. Gee, what you got for us?
Okay. So I just got a couple videos about the school to prison pipeline.
Okay. Which one did you want first? Are they in the order you want them?
They are.
Okay. Let me just see real quick. But yeah, it's a very good thing. I definitely support the kids. Always support the kids because our kids don't get enough support. So, all for the kids.
Funneling students, especially Black students, into the criminal justice system. It started in the 90s when schools responded to fears about crime with zero-tolerance policies, which mandated suspensions and expulsions for certain violations. They also cracked down on little things like talking back or uniform violations. The hope was that it would keep from bubbling up. But as a result, out-of-school suspensions have doubled since the 1970s, and they keep increasing even though juvenile crime rates have now been dropping for years. Around the same time, the number of police officers stationed full-time inside schools has increased by a third between 1997 and 2007. Ostensibly, they were there to prevent mass school shootings like the one at Columbine, but they end up being a way for schools to basically outsource. Schools with officers have 5 times as many arrests for disorderly conduct as schools without. Sometimes. But the less visible effect is that schools are feeding racial disparities in the criminal justice system. Consider the fact that schools are more likely to have an officer on their campus if the student population is more than 50% Black. You might assume that that's because there's more crime at these schools, but although students at police schools are more likely to be arrested, they're not actually more likely to be charged in court for weapons, drugs, alcohol, or assault, at least according to one study. During the 2010-2011 school year, 1 in 6 public school students in the US were Black, but they accounted for 1 in 3 arrests at school. Same goes for other forms of school discipline. Black students are suspended or expelled 3 times more frequently than white students. It actually begins in preschool. 18% of preschoolers are Black. But if all preschoolers suspended more than once, 48% are Black. Studies show that differences in behavior can't fully account for these disparities. Black students and white students are sent to the principal's office at similar rates, but Black students are more likely to end up with a serious punishment. One study found that white students are more likely to be suspended for provable offenses like smoking or vandalism. Black students are more likely to be suspended for subjective offenses like talking back or insubordination. Students who are suspended in school are more likely to later drop out or get arrested. So the federal government is asking schools to make suspension and expulsion the absolute last resort. In Oakland, California, public schools are trying something called restorative justice, where both parties in a conflict talk it out with a counselor instead of relying on punishment. The results are pretty encouraging. In the last 10 years, chronic absenteeism is down and graduation rates are up in the schools that have tried it. Other cities and districts are also trying new policies. They're hoping that if their students end up in the criminal justice system, at least it won't be because the schools push them there.
Okay, and then we can just go through the 2 videos quick, and then talk about the videos, and then the article, because the next video is like 2 minutes.
With drive time, you can save money on your down payment. $1,000
We
an
do
hour.
not endorse drive time.
That much money sort of feels like
What would you do if your child was placed in handcuffs for crying at school? Well, this was a reality for a 7-year-old black boy in Missouri, and it isn't rare for black and brown kids across the country. Whether it's getting arrested for talking back or doodling on a desk, in-school policing is harming students by taking them out of school and helping funnel them into prisons. It's called the school-to-prison pipeline. We're talking about a structure of codes and punishments that criminalizes kids as early as preschool and increases their chances of ending up in the criminal justice system. 99% of New York City school children who were handcuffed in 2016 were Black or Latinx. This happens when school resource officers are called into classrooms to discipline students, sometimes for something as small as violating a dress code or grabbing candy from a teacher's desk. If the offense doesn't lead to an arrest, Black and brown students are still subject to harsher punishments than white students. Black students are 4 times more likely to be suspended than their white peers. Sometimes students are kicked out of school for basically just being Black. Like in cases across the country where Black girls were suspended for rocking braids or an afro. So, where do students go after they've been kicked out of school? Research shows they're 3 times more likely to end up in the juvenile justice system within a year. This is all part of an endless cycle. Once kids touch the juvenile justice system, they're 67% more likely to end up in jail again before they're 25. So, what lessons are schools and police really teaching our kids here? How can kids excel in school if they're always being kicked out of them?
Okay, so the videos really speak for themselves. Like the system is just rigged against us. I say it all the time. It's like one of the things that the video said was, all students get suspended for doodling on the desk. When something like that is so simple as giving that student a piece of paper and saying, "Here, doodle on this instead," because doodling is one thing that helps some students actually focus on what's going in or what's going on in the classroom. So it's like, instead of punishing them for finding different ways to focus, because school is not for everybody, and kids have a hard time focusing at school. So it's just like, the system is rigged against us. The system is rigged against us. That's all I got on the video.
I mean, it's really just what the girl said in the last video, how can students be successful if they're always getting kicked out of it? It's as simple as that.
Period.
I don't know. The fact that, I don't know, the school to prison pipeline is something that's very complex to me because it definitely shapes the identity of children at a very young age. And I think that it's important that we protect our kids. That's just protect our kids. That's it.
What's that thing we talked about yesterday about like the test you take in 3rd grade?
It's the state test. So like, I don't know what it's called right now, and I know each state is called something different. But I know, like, in Colorado, when I was in 3rd grade, it was the CSAT, and we took the CSAT. It was a spring test. We took it in the springtime. They prepare you for it in the fall. They give you like a practice CSAT test, and then you take the actual test in the springtime. And that test determined like what teacher you got really for the next year, because each teacher dealt with students on different levels. So students with higher test scores were mainly put in the same class, and students with if it was like medium, that's kind of how they did that. So,
Right.
and that test is what determines, if they're gonna build a jail cell or not for the student.
Facts. That's where I was trying to get to.
Yep. And so, but it's like it's a rigged test. Like, it's a like math is universal.
Right.
Math is universal, but the reading, the history, like it's not equipped for our people, and it's rigged against us. It's just. But we could segue into the article. I just want to scroll all the way to the bottom of this article. It talks about avoiding the pipeline.
Okay.
And I just want to talk about each of these individually and see how y'all feel about these.
Facts. But to our viewers, it's just crazy, and let us know how y'all think as well. It's crazy to think like a test you take at 8 years old determines whether or not they make a jail cell for you or someone who look like you. That's crazy.
Man. Avoiding the pipeline. How can school districts divert the school to prison pipeline? So the first option this article gives is increase the use of positive behavior interventions and supports. So it's kind of like in a video they said in Texas, or what did it say, in California, they're we're trying restorative justice, which in some cases it works. In some cases it works. I haven't seen restorative justice situations work, and I feel like that's one thing schools should be doing anyways, because during the time frame that a student is in school, as teachers and faculty and staff always like to brag about, is they're responsible for the students. So if you're responsible for us, then y'all need to figure out a way to appropriately discipline us in a way that's gonna motivate us and grow us and build us up, and not send us to jail, not kick us out of the school, not take us away from the education. How y'all feel about that one?
I think a positive intervention is always a good way to go. For me, I know, like, when I was going through stuff, the school was actually more hard on me than they were leaning towards understanding, even the school counselor. So I think that it's important to have like a positive reinforcer. But folly is found in the heart of a child. Go ahead, Mark.
I mean, at the end of the day, keeping the child in school should be what's the priority. Simple.
Period. To compile annual reports on the total number of disciplinary actions that push students out of the classroom based on gender, race, and ability. I mean, they do that, but if we increase the positive behavior interventions, then shouldn't the total number of disciplinary actions go down? Shouldn't it work like that?
In theory, yeah.
I didn't do this already. But yeah, in theory, it's good. But that's all I have to say.
Okay. Create agreements with police departments and court systems to limit arrests at school and use the restraints such as mace and handcuffs. No.
Absolutely not. Police shouldn't be in schools.
Not. Police shouldn't be in schools. Absolutely not. Police should not be in schools.
Especially with mace and handcuffs. Like what?
Especially elementary schools, because that takes away a part of their innocence, their purity. They don't need them in middle schools.
That just reminds
me, high schools.
That just reminds me of the conversation that I had with Brandon Pryor yesterday. His son was placed in handcuffs, and that was a whole thing. And DPS, DPS got sued. I'm not gonna touch on that too much, But DPS got sued, and long story short, you know, when a settlement is created, you know you did something wrong.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that needs to be more widespread. I don't ever remember there being a police officer on the at the school in like elementary school or middle school. But then when I got in high school, I noticed that there was like police all the time. So I don't understand, and I don't think that they should be using handcuffs and mace on students. Like
At all.
that just doesn't make sense. Handcuffs, okay, I get it. If a child's being like super violent, swinging and hitting on people, okay, handcuffs, all right, that's fine, whatever. But if you're macing a child, like macing a child, people can die from being maced because it cuts you off from breathing because it's so strong. I've been maced before, and that is not the way.
Me too.
At Juneteenth.
Oh, go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying at Juneteenth I got maced, but go ahead.
Oh man, yeah, y'all. I got maced by a road rage driver while I was driving. It was hard. 4. Provide simple explanations of infractions and prescribe responses in the student code of conduct to ensure fairness.
This one's weird because I feel like most students know why they got in trouble. I do understand its intentions, like rather than just like, okay, go to the office, you know, you telling the kid, okay, this is what you did, this is why I didn't like it, here's how we move forward. If the situation is like that, and again keeping the child in school, then I guess I had no problem with it.
Yeah, as long as it's keeping the child in school, you know, and honest for me too, it's honestly like if you can refrain from calling the parent during the school day or work day, like if it's something that you can resolve at school, the child can go back to class and go home after school. You can call. If it's a situation that the parent needs to be called for, call, you know, after hours, because, you know, it's always, I've seen plenty of times where it's like, you know, schools call during, you know, while parents are at work and stuff, and that's just so rude and disrespectful. Because during that time frame, those school hours, that child is supposed to be your responsibility. So as long as it keeps the child in school, and if it's something that the parent needs to be called for, they can call after school hours. Hey.
Sure, I need you to talk to my mom right then and there. Because if something's going on, like if something's really going on, if my mom doesn't answer the phone, great, leave a voicemail. If it's something that needs to be addressed right then in that moment, like before, when I was in high school, before we got paddled, they contacted our parents to make sure, like, okay, so do you think that this punishment is something that we should be, you know, following through with? So when it comes to being hit by another administrator, yes, call my mom. Please call my mom. If I'm doing something to where, like, let's say, you know, I got in a fight at school and I, like, you know, something happens. Because the thing, back in my day, they sent people to alternative school. That's a whole nother thing. So definitely call my mom and let her know what's going on. Because I'm pretty sure there's like an open line of communication in between me and my mother. And she's going to know what's going on behind the scenes to be able to explain what's going on to the administration who's not listening to me. So
I think that's in severe cases, but in the sake of something simple, and then something that where a student can go back to class. But I think that's in a severe case. But for the sake of time, what was it? 5, create appropriate limits on the use of law enforcement in public schools. Law enforcement shouldn't be in school. Period. That's just that. Law enforcement should not be in school.
right.
That is the limit.
Right.
100%.
Exactly. Train teachers on the use of positive behavior supports for at-risk students. Absolutely. Like that shouldn't even have to be said.
Hiring Black teachers would kill 2 birds with 1 stone there.
Hiring Black teachers would kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Exactly. But I don't know if that's always the case, because sometimes like Black teachers went hard on me, harder than more harder than the white teachers I had in school. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's
That's
crazy.
facts. Did you feel like there was at least some like love or like some type of connection there? Because I know like some teachers would push you hard, especially if you're around other white students because they want you to be, you know, successful or know
Right.
what you're capable of. So like, do you feel like there was any bit of like love or them wanting you to do better in that, or they was just on you?
I don't even know. Of course, there's some teachers that were like that, but you could tell because that relationship had been established. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then there's those ones where it's not. I just as a disclaimer, I went to a mostly all black high school, all black middle school. I went to school in Georgia and I went to school in Alabama, and there was hella black people. So my experience is different. Because one, I'm from Arizona. So like because I sound different, I was different. My what I encountered was different.
Understandable.
Yeah, for me, like I no, like, you know, with generations, time change. So it's like, you know, we're the generation of teachers now is coming up. So we know what change we kind of want to see, and you know, I'm hoping people who are becoming teachers take that path. But I know the black teachers that I had, like Wyatt, I know that they were harder on us, but because they knew the world that was out there, and they were kind of preparing us for that. And you know, our black teachers, they kind of in a way explained that to us too. So like we knew that it was a lot of love coming from them that we had. And then in high school, like the black teachers that I had, like, well, I didn't have black teachers, but the black basketball coach, he was black, both of them. And so they, you know, were harder on me because, you know, they knew what the world was like outside of high school, and they were preparing me for that, and they were preparing me for what it was really going to be like to be a black woman fighting for my black rights. So I understand why they were harder on me, and I know they showed me a lot of love, but I always understood why they were harder on me. And you know, yeah, we didn't get whooped or nothing like that, so that was never an issue. We didn't have that problem, not by no teacher.
But that's a good segue.
But yeah.
That's a good segue for the next thing.
Yeah. So for the next thing, I just wanted to just show this man's face. That's it. That's it. That's all black excellence. I just wanted to show his face and get it out there and show y'all what we got going on in the political system realm. We got the mayor of Baltimore.
Mayor of Baltimore.
Right now. Brandon Scott. So I just wanted to share this. This is the mayor of Baltimore, Mr. Brandon Scott. He was recently sworn into office, and this is how he did it.
Yes,
and it's just such
sir.
black excellence because it's just such black excellence because I didn't want to read the article or anything.
Oh, okay.
It's just such black excellence because, you know, the government's always discriminating against us in our natural hair. Like the fro is intimidating to the corporate world or, you know, the political world even. So I just wanted to show that, you know, give props to him for that because, you know, he looked great. Black excellence, black power. He looked, you know, his cut was fresh. So that's it. I just wanted to share him.
I would have put a pick at the top, but that's just me.
Hey.
I would have put a pick at the top. You feel me? Yes, sir.
I'm always gonna stay an advocate for natural hair. I love natural hair. I rock my natural hair. I don't deal with fake hair. So whenever I see somebody that's like putting that positiveness out there, again, it's Fro Friday. I had my fro out, but I had to cover my head because stuff was just stop. My cat. Anyway, but But yes, I'm a huge advocate for natural hair. Black man, Black woman, love your woolly hair because society does not tell us how beautiful our hair and our skin and our melanatedness and our hair that defies gravity is. Okay. That's all I've got.
Yes, indeed.
And to be in a high position as a mayor, that's somebody that has a big platform and followers and things like that, and still rocking the natural. That is so dope. That is
so it's what little Black boys need to see.
Mm-hmm.
He's what our little Black boys need to say. Like, ooh, I want to be like Mayor Brandon one day.
Or even if you have cornrows, I'd be like, okay.
Exactly.
Okay. I would walk in there with a do-rag on, shoot, make it that much better.
And at the end, you got to take it off and show the waves.
Right.
But that's it. Yeah, that's it for
100%. So with that being said, that will conclude our Make a Culture Move podcast. Just a brief overview before we leave off. We had Tabitha's section, which was the Brown Dilemma, Latina X, I believe is the correct way to say it. Lives do matter indeed. We definitely want to keep the focus on all of our colored counterparts. We all matter. We all deserve the same amount of attention. Justice for Casey Goodson. I mean, what can you even say at that point? Ridiculous. COVID has no effect on school to prison pipeline, and some could argue that it's actually made it a lot worse, which provides questions in itself. Then we had the story of Brandon Bernard, RIP. There's still 5 more executions supposed to happen before the inauguration on January 20th. So hopefully we get that whole thing. We just need to fight that. We had our Black excellence, the 3 Black kids with the highest IQs, period, point blank, higher than Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawkins, the whole 9. Then we had our brief discussions on school to prison pipeline, some of it explained and how relatable it is to most of us. And then we had our Mayor Brandon. I'm gonna say our because I'm gonna claim that. I don't even care. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, you feel me? Got sworn into office with some Black pride. And with that being said, that will conclude our Make a Culture Move podcast. Please follow us on all of our social platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We do have our workshops coming up. This week is ages 14 through 26. Please sign up as soon as possible. We will end all of our signups on Monday. So please get that in. We start our workshop Tuesday. Anybody from 14 to 26 needs $120 in their pocket while still learning about some cultural stability and financial stability. Sign them up. You feel me? Follow us on our platform. That's Make a Chess Move, Make a Culture Move. We got a whole lot. And then with that being said, did I leave anything?
I think you covered it all, boss.
Say that. I'm getting good at this. Thank y'all for bearing with me. Thank y'all. But yes, thank y'all again. This will conclude our Make a Culture Move podcast. Y'all knock them out there. Y'all. Thank y'all for supporting.